The Battle of Romani was the last ground attack of the Central Powers on the Suez Canal at the beginning of the Sinai and Palestine Campaign during the First World War. The battle was fought between 3 and 5 August 1916 near the Egyptian town of Romani and the site of ancient Pelusium on the Sinai Peninsula, 23 miles east of the Suez Canal. This victory by the 52nd Division and the Anzac Mounted Division of the Egyptian Expeditionary Force over a joint Ottoman and German force, which had marched across the Sinai, marked the end of the defense of the Suez Canal campaign, also known as the offensives Arabi Rungd as Suez Canals and the Ikan al-Harikati, which had begun on 26 January 1915. This British Empire victory, the first against the Ottoman Empire in the war, ensured the safety for the Suez Canal from ground attacks, and ended the Central Powers' ambitions of disrupting traffic through the canal by gaining control of the strategically important northern approaches to the Suez Canal. The pursuit by the Anzac Mounted Division, which ended at Bir el Abd on 12 August, began the Sinai and Palestine Campaign. Thereafter, the Anzac Mounted Division, supported by the Imperial Camel Brigade, were on the offensive, pursuing the German and Ottoman army many miles across the Sinai Peninsula, reversing in a most emphatic manner the defeat suffered at Katia 3 months earlier. From late April 1916, after a German-led Ottoman force attacked British yeomanry at Katia, British Empire forces in the region at first doubled from 1 brigade to 2 and then grew as rapidly as the developing infrastructure could support them. The construction of the railway and a water pipeline soon enabled an infantry division to join the light horse and mounted rifle brigades at Romani. During the heat of summer, regular mounted patrols and reconnaissance were carried out from their base at Romani, while the infantry constructed an extensive series of defensive redoubts. On 19 July, the advance of a large German, Austrian and Ottoman force across the northern Sinai was reported. From 20 July until the battle began, the Australian 1st and 2nd Light Horse Brigades took turns pushing out to clash with the advancing hostile column. During the night of 3/4 August 1916, the advancing force, including the German Pasharai formation and the Ottoman 3rd Infantry Division, launched an attack from Katia on Romani. Forward troops quickly became engaged with the screen established by the 1st Light Horse Brigade. During fierce fighting before dawn on 4 August, the Australian light horsemen were forced to slowly retire. At daylight, their line was reinforced by the 2nd Light Horse Brigade, and about mid-morning, the 5th Mounted Brigade and the New Zealand Mounted Rifles Brigade joined the battle. Together these 4 brigades of the Anzac Mounted Division managed to contain and direct the determined attackers into deep sand. Here the attackers came within range of the strongly entrenched 52nd Division defending Romani and the railway. Coordinated resistance by all these EEF formations, the deep sand, the heat and thirst, prevailed, and the German, Austrian and Ottoman advance was checked. Although the attacking force fought strongly to maintain its positions the next morning, by nightfall they had been pushed back to their starting point of Katia. The retiring force was pursued by the Anzac Mounted Division between 6 and 9 August, during which the Ottomans and Germans forces fought a number of strong rearguard actions against the advancing Australian Light Horse, British Yeomanry and New Zealand Mounted Rifle Brigades. The pursuit ended on 12 August, when the German and Ottoman force abandoned their base at Bir el Abd and retreated back to Awarish. Background. At the beginning of the First World War, the Egyptian police controlling the Sinai Peninsula had withdrawn, leaving the area largely unprotected. In February 1915, a German and Ottoman force unsuccessfully attacked the Suez Canal. Minor Ottoman and Bedouin forces operating across the Sinai continued to threaten the canal from March through the Gallipoli campaign until June, when they practically ceased until the autumn. Meanwhile, the German and Ottoman empires supported an uprising by the Senussi on the western frontier of Egypt which began in November 1915. By February 1916, however, there was no apparent sign of any unusual military activity in the Sinai itself. When the British began construction on the first 25-mile stretch of 4-foot 8-inch standard gauge railway and water pipeline from Kantara to Romani and Katia, reconnaissance aircraft of the Royal Flying Corps and seaplanes of the Royal Naval Air Service found only small, scattered Ottoman forces in the Sinai region and no sign of any major concentration of troops in southern Palestine. By the end of March or early in April 1916, the British presence in the Sinai was growing. 16 miles of track, including sidings, had been laid. Between the 21st of March and the 11th of April, the water sources at Wadi Mukshab, Moya Harab and Jafar along the central Sinai route from southern Palestine were destroyed. In 1915, they had been used by the central group of about 6,000 or 7,000 Ottoman soldiers who moved across the Sinai Desert to attack the Suez Canal at Ismailia. Without these wells and cisterns, the central route could no longer be used by large forces. German General Friedrich Freiherr Kress von Kressenstein's raiding force retaliated to this growing British presence by attacking the widely dispersed 5th Mounted Brigade on the 23rd of April, Easter Sunday and also St. George's Day, when yeomanry were surprised and overwhelmed at Katia and Ofratina east of Romani. The Mounted Yeomanry Brigade had been sent to guard the water pipeline and railway as they were being extended beyond the protection of the Suez Canal defences into the desert towards Romani. In response to this attack, the British Empire presence in the region doubled. The next day, the New Zealand Mounted Rifles Brigade and the 2nd Light Horse Brigade, which had served dismounted during the Gallipoli campaign of the Australian Major General Harry Chauvel's Anzac Mounted Division, reoccupied the Katia area unopposed.